Hello, my name is Zion,
And I'm Judah.
and this is the Amateur Film Critics. And today is our Disney one of the season. So,
Disney edition.
yes, so every season, one of the episodes is gonna be about a Disney animated feature.
Mm-hmm. And today
we're talking about one that I believe isn't like on Disney Plus. You can't like watch it on the kids side, even though it was
I don't know how that works.
movie.
I didn't even know there was a kid side of Disney Plus. Honestly,
well,
I believe most of it was
like. Well, I believe it's like a parental lock thing, and so apparently, this I don't know.
Yes,
but we're talking about Peter Pan.
Yeah, which, I mean, here's the deal. It's a classic. It is a classic Disney movie. We need to understand that going into.
We need to understand that this is
well.
Yeah.
I mean,
during the times, I think it didn't age well.
Yeah, so this is our first movie where we got a warning before we watched it. But yeah,
if you've seen the actual movie, you probably know which part we're referring to, but we will get into it.
Yeah, but as we were watching it, there were multiple parts that other than just depictions of stuff. There's some very I don't know if it would be done today stuff.
Yeah, I don't think.
Just saying.
Now Disney is talking about I believe Disney is planning on making this as a part of their live action remake of classic animated film trend. So I don't think they should, in my opinion, but
I mean, they're gonna have to make a lot of changes.
I mean, it's honestly if they
kind of a weird story, even then too.
I mean, so this movie was based off of a novel or a play.
Yes.
Play. So if Disney referred to those instead of this one, then
well then probably we haven't read the whatever it was. So how do we know that the book version is okay? And I think the play was based off a book.
I believe it was a book first.
Okay, yeah, it was a book. But yeah, anyway, I think we should just get right into it. So we open on a nice little house in
with
it like what? I don't know what the time period is, but it's London.
It's like
right.
We actually open on a scene of we actually open with the opening credits themselves, which look like classic animated Disney credits.
Yeah. So we open with some classic animated Disney credits, and then we get into a nice little house in London of some time period, which I'm not exactly sure. But it's from there. We have, I believe it's John is one of them. I forgot the name of the youngest son.
I believe the youngest son is Michael.
Michael? Yeah, that's right. So Michael and John are play fighting while their parents get ready for some sort of party. And their dad is very high strung, and I think the first thing we need to address is that he's a little high strung, obviously, but I think we need to cut him some slack, because I think maybe the family was a little too rough on him in a way.
Yeah, I think
because as we go through these scenes, we see basically the father really fed up. Like they describe him as a practical man, and we see the family get really the father get really fed up with the childish parts of the children, which
Yeah.
they're children, so he shouldn't have too much of a problem with it. But like they steal like a couple of his things. They draw on, I don't know what it's called, but it was some sort of thing part of his suit, and all that happens. We also have their mother is like, barely a character in this movie, if we're being honest.
Right.
And then there's the dog, who is their nurse for some reason. And that's another. Yeah, we literally see the nurse or the dog pour out medicine, and we're
so
like,
the narrator describes the dog as like the housemaid.
yeah,
or that's what the narrator refers the dog to, which is weird. But
yeah, and it also incredibly worries me that we're like trusting the dog to give the children medicine.
Yes. And
Yeah.
throughout the movie, we were joking that they saw Peter Pan because they got overdosed
Yeah,
by the dog.
we're wondering, maybe that's what was really happening in the movie. Peter Pan doesn't exist. He's the byproduct of the dog mismeasuring their medicine. But then we finally also meet Wendy, who is the oldest daughter, and all that kind of stuff. Blah blah.
Yeah.
There's not much to this first part. I actually kind of thought they drug it out longer than I remembered.
Yeah.
But basically, we get to this point where the dad is so fed up with all the children's childishness that he's going to move Wendy to her own room. And I think we need to talk about that, because how is that a punishment? In my opinion.
Yeah, I think in a lot of believe that's an upgrade, because
I would take it as an upgrade.
Well, yeah,
because she was sharing a room with her two brothers, and she can love her brothers and all that, but doesn't she want the privacy? But this is
because I think it's because the mother couldn't read her stories, or I don't know. It's about the stories.
Yeah. I don't know.
I can't read
but
books.
Wendy reads stories to the boys and all kinds of stuff, and they talk a little bit about Peter Pan and blah blah blah. This is honestly the most boring part of the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is boring.
It's not really until Peter Pan shows up that you really, get into the stuff. So that's, I think, where we go to. So the kids are tucked in bed.
And the parents leave, and the dad has on this mix of a magician's costume and a Dracula costume. It was so weird.
The dad could use some fashion tips. That was a very strange suit he was wearing. But from there, Peter Pan finally shows up.
Yes.
And our first shot of Peter Pan is very unsettling.
Very creepy-ish, I would say.
Yeah. And I remember, and honestly, after we first really got to see Peter Pan's face, I realized how much of a brat Peter Pan looks like. I don't know what it was about the way they animated him, but he just looks just kind of like the annoying kid in a way.
Yeah, he looks like the natural brat. Or I'm not saying that in offense. It looks like brats from other Disney movies at the time, is what I would say.
Yeah. But Peter Pan and Tinkerbell are coming to look for Peter Pan's shadow, which had been stolen by their dog at one point on one of his past trips to London. So I believe in the process of them looking for the shadow, they find it locked up in a drawer, right? And so Tinkerbell gets locked in that drawer somehow.
Yeah, and so
and Peter Pan's struggle with the shadow, he wakes up Wendy, which this is where it gets kind of strange, I think.
Yeah, and so Wendy approaches him as a Peter Pan as a soldier returning home.
Yeah, yes, that's so true. Actually, even though like had Wendy and Peter Pan ever met before?
Peter says that he's come to listen to her tell the stories, but I don't think Wendy has met Peter Pan.
Yeah, so that's quite strange just to start off with, but it's it's a different story. But as Peter Pan and Wendy are talking, Tinkerbell gets very jealous immediately.
Tinkerbell immediately is jealous of Wendy, and because Wendy is taking her man. But basically, Peter and Tink have been together, and now Wendy is just taking him away, and it's.
And I gotta say, I think we need to put quotes around that whole the word together, because I don't know if Tinkerbell and Peter Pan ever were really in a relationship, and I think we're gonna see this as the movie goes on.
Yeah,
I think Peter Pan was a bit of a player or a flirt, whatever you want to call it, and he just sort of led every woman he met. He led them on.
Well, or Tinkerbell is like trying to be the overprotective mother of Peter Pan.
Oh, I never thought about it that way. That makes it seems weird.
He's Wendy trying to kiss Peter. He gets all upset and doesn't want Peter because he's Wendy. Ooh. It makes sense though. I think it makes
more so. Sense. That's kind of a weird way to look at it, but yeah. So eventually, I believe we end up with basically everyone in that room is awake. The brothers and Wendy and Peter Pan. And
yes, and then
I don't know how they get to it, but they all just decide they're all gonna go to Netherland.
Yes, and then they talk. Well, they talk to Tinkerbell, and Tinkerbell is all jealous, and then they want to go to Neverland, and so they try to fly, but then fail. So they have to get pixie dust, which comes from Tinkerbell. So they have to either shake her or pat her on the back. So I feel bad.
Oh yeah, so that's not where Peter Pan patted Tinkerbell, if you know what I mean. But
yeah,
it was quite strange. I feel bad for Tinkerbell too, because they just sort of forcefully grab her and force her to give up the dust.
Yeah,
but and I also want to say the song they sing while We Can Fly, in my opinion, that's really the only good song from this movie.
I mean, yeah. I mean, this movie doesn't have a lot of songs.
It doesn't have a lot of music, but there is songs in it, I would say. And this is We Can Fly is the only good one in my opinion. Probably the most
classic song. Yeah.
Yeah. So from there they're flying, and they fly around London for a little bit before finally flying up into the sky, and they're heading towards Neverland.
Yeah, so we cut to Captain Hook's.
Yes, we finally meet Captain Hook.
So we see his crew. We see Mr. Smee. We see Captain Hook. Captain Hook shoots a guy. He sees TikTok Croc, tries to shave, and then Peter Pan comes in. That's basically how that scene went down. It's not the most interesting.
Yeah, there's not much to that scene. I actually was we were watching, I thought, I feel like this scene is longer than it needed to be, even though it's already a pretty short movie. It's only an hour and 20 minutes. I will say though, I think Mr. Smee might be the best character in this movie. I know there's
probably.
In my opinion, it's you have Captain Hook, you have the offensive part of this movie, and then you just have a bunch of sort of whiny, impressionable children. And so we only get Mr. Smee, and like,
Right.
I don't know why, but he's polite, and I really enjoyed him. From there, though, do we meet the Lost Boys? Is that right? I think we meet the Lost Boys.
I think from there, Tinkerbell. Well, I believe Tinkerbell is supposed to lead Wendy and the other two to the Lost Boys, but Tinkerbell instead sends the Lost Boys to kill Wendy.
Yes.
So
yeah,
yes.
which, oh my gosh, Tinkerbell took this really far very quickly in that case.
Yes.
If that's where like Tinkerbell's jealousy like initially went, then boy oh boy does Tinkerbell have some problems. But while the Lost Boys fail at killing Wendy, thank goodness.
Yes.
I believe Peter Pan, like, banishes Peter Pan banishes Tinkerbell forever, and then but Wendy like chimes in, and so it gets changed to a week, blah blah blah. And we finally get to like be introduced to the Lost Boys in a way. The Lost Boys aren't very much of a fleshed out character. They almost move and talk as one in a way. There are even two that are like twins, and like they just repeat each other.
Right.
But we get to meet the Lost Boys, at which point the group decides to split up, and the
so the Lost Boys go. Well, John is the leader, and so they follow the leader, which isn't that great of a song, but
yeah, that's I didn't even know. Is that where that song is originally from? Was that where because I feel like that's just been a thing that's around forever.
I think it was originally from this film, I think.
Okay. Sure, it feels like just a children's song or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And they pass by all these animals, and then they come to a human foot, and John immediately tells them it's an Indian foot, which, in all fairness, how can he tell?
Yeah, it's literally just 2 feet. There's no way to know it's an Indian foot. And this is where it starts to go downhill fast.
Yeah.
As Michael, the youngest one, finds a feather, right? And sticks it in his hair.
I believe that's what happens.
And a tree behind him is stalking him.
Right.
At which point, when Michael finally realizes that tree is there, he runs up and he tries to tell the other boys, but they, ignore him.
Yeah, they ignore him.
The trees surround them and kidnap all the children. And so we just get left on that cliffhanger for a bit.
Well,
no, wait. No, we don't. Sorry, you're right.
They were taken to the Indians' campsite.
Yeah.
Or where they lived, I guess.
The natives' campsite, whatever you want to call it. It was, I think we should just call it the campsite. I don't even know,
yeah,
but
the campsite.
The people there.
The people. Okay, so it's.
It's so bad. Just looking back on it, you can only describe. Okay, first of all, the way they're animated, that's very rough. I think we need to just touch on that.
Yeah. So
the way they talk is also very rough.
Well, you have to remember the times. At the time, this was more common in animation than it was now.
Yeah, at the time they thought it was okay, which doesn't make it okay, but still.
Yeah, it doesn't make it okay at all.
It was rough. That's the only way we can put it.
Yeah, and so...
but the conclusion they come to is that...
Tiger Lily.
They go meet the mermaids first.
Oh, yes, they go meet the mermaids, which... Yes. Oh, my. So...
The mermaids part is rough in a different way, Peter. I think.
Yeah, the mermaids love Peter, but then... they see Wendy, who seems like a threat in their relationship, and so they try to drown her. We were only trying to drown her.
Yeah, they immediately try to drown Wendy, which this is my point, okay? So the mermaids like Peter, Tinkerbell likes Peter, and Wendy all like Peter. If he doesn't he doesn't stop that much, right? Even when the mermaids are trying to drown Wendy, Peter just laughs.
Yeah, he just literally just for some reason
laughs at it. And so this is the point we need to realize that Peter is definitely leading on literally every girl his age that he meets.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know. Peter Pan was much worse of a character than I remembered him to be.
Right.
But yeah. And then from there, Peter Pan and Wendy go on to Skull Island where they're hiding Tiger Lily? Or is that?
Believe it's Skull Rock.
Or Skull Rock, sorry.
Island.
Yeah, I don't know. Skull Island is King Kong, whoopsie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Skull Rock. I believe it's Skull Rock or something like Skull that. Rock. It looks like a skull. But and at which that's where Hook is holding Tiger Lily. And so this is the reason that the people have taken the Lost Boys, because they think that Peter Pan is the one who stole Tiger Lily.
Yes.
And Peter Pan does this little thing where he projects his voice across the cave to make them think there's a ghost. And he uses that along with the combination of the crocodile, who had showed up literally every place that Hook is, to save Tiger Lily. There's not, we can't go into too much detail because there's not much detail to talk about, I don't think.
Yeah,
but basically
a lot of details in this scene, but basically what happens is that they save Tiger Lily, and Captain Hook runs from the crocodile. That's basically the end of this scene.
So Tiger Lily gets saved, at which point we head back to the campsite because they're gonna celebrate Peter Pan saving Tiger Lily, and it gets really bad here. So we have Peter Pan, who gets ordained or whatever as some sort of chief, which is already a little worrisome. And then we have this
ordained to be saved the chief's daughter.
Yeah, and then we have this song, which is, oh boy.
We aren't going to repeat any of the words in the song, but
oh yes, yeah, but there's so much to unpack in this song that is just so oof. It's so bad, but
yeah, it's. I mean, you have to think. It was during the times, but it was also more. You saw it more than you do today, which you don't see.
Yeah. I will say, apart from all the wrong stereotypes, there was this one point at which point they passed around a pipe and the children were just allowed to smoke it, which was
I don't think
awful.
That
could not have been done today.
That was allowed back then.
But yeah, so that was it was a really rough. There's so much to say about that scene that I think we just gotta skip over it because oof. But
there is a huge Ron claim during that scene as well. it is, but if you actually watched it, you know what it is. And
Yeah.
You know, but
So
that's Disney, everybody. I'm joking. I'm just a joke.
from there, near the end of the song, Peter Pan dances for Tiger Lily, which makes Wendy jealous, which just goes on to prove my point that Peter Pan is just playing the field, and like has like about 4 or 5 girls in his pocket at all times, which is awful.
Basically,
Yeah, basically, I can't believe it took me this long to realize this about this movie because I've seen it before, but that's exactly what Peter Pan's doing. But Wendy storms back to like the hideaway, because of like, what is it called? Oh, Peter's like tree thing. I don't know.
Well, I think first we see Tinkerbell tell Hook
Yes.
the hideout is, but then Hook captures Tinkerbell.
Yeah, Tinkerbell does get kidnapped in the nicest kidnapping you'll ever see on screen, I must say. I believe it. Mr. Smee grabs her and then says, "Pardon me, Mrs." And I was like, "Wait, that's like the nicest kidnapping that's ever been shown on screen."
Pardon me, but I have kidnapped you.
And so from there, yeah, Tinkerbell is basically tricked into telling Hook where the hideout is, which is at Hangman's Tree or something.
Yeah.
Now, back at the hideout, though, Wendy, still mad because of Peter Pan, decides that, she's going to, she's ready to go, right?
Yeah, she's ready to go back to London.
But none of her brothers want to go. And so, she talks them into like wanting to go back, but at the same time as she sings this pretty bad song about mothers, like all of the Lost Boys get convinced that they're ready to go to London too, at which point she makes the promise, I'm pretty sure, that they can come stay with her.
Yeah, I believe she makes this huge claim without any that they can all come,
which then just gets forgotten about later because like this never comes back up. But by the end of the movie, like the Lost Boys are not with Wendy and where they are.
Well, I believe at the end she says that the Lost Boys decided to stay with Peter.
Yeah,
she says that at the end, but then then we see Captain Hook and his crewmates just listening in on this song.
Yeah, at which the crewmates too get emotional, and honestly, it wasn't the best song, so like I wasn't getting emotional at all. But these people were.
Yeah.
So, and all at the same time, Peter Pan's sort of being like, a crybaby because people are not paying attention to him. Like that's kind of the gist of it. You know what I mean?
Kind of. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah. He just gets really mad by the idea of them wanting to leave, I think.
And so Wendy and the Lost Boys leave the hideout, and Peter just says, "Fine, leave." At which point, this is the guy we're supposed to be rooting for.
Yup.
And he's just being a jerk to the others. And then that Wendy and the other kids get captured by Hook. Then we get them on the ship.
Yeah, so Wendy and the others get captured by Hook. And Hook leaves a present for Peter, which, surprise, surprise, is a bomb in it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't go off till later. Because while we're on the ship, these kids get convinced to become pirates, basically.
Yes.
If it wasn't for Wendy, they would have actually became them.
Yes, and they get a free tattoo.
Free tattoo. Which I gotta say, these children are the most impressionable children, like, ever. Like, they will go with anything and everything. It doesn't matter who the current ringleader is. They will follow them.
That's true.
But they don't become pirates, thank goodness. At which point, I believe the bomb goes off. Right? Oh, no, wait.
Yeah,
Hook starts talking about the bomb.
She starts talking the bomb, and then Tinkerbell somehow breaks loose of her engagement and goes to tell Peter about it. Peter doesn't believe her. The bomb explodes, destroying the hideout. And so Peter thinks Tinkerbell is dead. It turns out she's not dead. So they go try to save Wendy and the other kids.
Yeah.
So, as Captain Hook is forcing Wendy off the edge of the plank, she jumps, but then Peter catches her in mid-air, and Captain Hook and the crew are shocked they didn't hear Hey Splash and think Wendy will walk the entire time. But
yeah.
Turns out it was just Peter, and they have a fight scene. Then
yeah, and
fight scene isn't really much to talk about. It's just
I mean, there's a little bit of flying and stuff like that. I will say though, the funny part is, like, the Lost Boys, right? They grab all these weapons, like hammers and rocks and all kinds of things to fight against the other pirates. But I'm like, and I believe we do see these like weapons, like these things hitting the other pirates' heads, and I'm like, are these kids committing murder?
I mean,
they don't show anyone dying.
Yeah, they don't.
Which is nice.
Well, I mean, they only show Captain Hook. Captain Hook at this movie throws a guy off and then shoots a guy. So we see Captain Hook murder people, but we don't see
people.
And so
that's true.
Eventually, Captain Hook is thrown to the crocodile. At which point we don't see him get eaten, but is applied till the sequel in the 2000s, in which Captain Hook is back for some reason with his ship. So I don't think that sequel counts because
we're
the ship back. So
we are never watching that sequel.
Yeah.
I don't even want to know. I don't think I've ever seen it, and I think I can live not seeing the Peter Pan sequel.
Seeing the sequel. And so they make Peter Pan somehow gets Captain Hook's hat back, even though he has
even though he destroyed it. I thought about the same thing.
I just thought about that. Like, he just he gets it back. I don't know. And then in the ship, gold with pixie dust. And then we see the parents arriving home, and Wendy is asleep in the nursery.
And that's about the end of the movie. I mean, they decide that Wendy can stay in the nursery, which is nice for her.
Yeah.
But even though we still don't understand that plot point, I'd want my own room.
Yeah. And we see the dog get untied up. And so
yes. The dog was untied up, which was nice. Yeah.
Then the movie ends.
I will say though, we were wondering why if the ship's gonna turn gold when you put pixie dust on it, right? Why didn't the children?
Yeah, why weren't the children?
Why aren't the children just gold?
I didn't think Walt Disney thought about these factors hard enough.
Yeah, I think there's obviously gonna be well, first of all, we're over analyzing a animated film from 50 years ago.
Over analyzations. If we thought about these things, then these aren't that.
Yeah. I think what I'm like, we need to be less nitpicky about these.
Yeah, but anyways, that was Peter Pan.
Yeah, it's
say the ride in Walt Disney World, the dark ride animatronic Peter Pan is better than the actual animated Peter Pan. But
wow.
Well, it is a good ride though. I gotta admit, you're flying through.
It is
all the.
I do not even remember what the Peter Pan ride is like. It's been a long time since I've ridden it.
Well, I thought the ride was better, but
yeah. Anyways, final thoughts. What do you think about it?
I mean, it's a decent movie. I mean, it's that you should show to your kids, even though Disney Plus kind of doesn't want you to. But
I think it's still a classic. Like, even though it didn't age well, like there's a lot. Like, it's a classic movie.
It's still a classic, but
it's gonna go down in history as one of the things that made Disney what it is today. And so, as far as
rate it now,
yeah, what's your rating for it, Simon? What do you got?
I would say. Like 5 mermaids out of 10.
5 mermaids out of 10. Okay. Wait, are these the mermaids from Peter Pan, or is this Ariel? Because
these are the movies from Peter Pan. I mean,
I know, but Zion really likes Ariel. I'm just saying.
This in a later episode in season 2 that we already have.
Okay.
That's one of the only ones we have planned.
Yes. So I think I would give it probably about 3 stars. I mean, actually 3.5. I'll give it 3.5 stars.
Out of what?
Oh, out of 5. Yes, I need to say that because it sounds very strange. Or maybe I just need to make up my own. If out of mermaids, I don't know how many mermaids it gets, but 3.5 stars out of 5.
Okay.
All right. Well, that was Peter Pan, and that was our podcast.
Yes.
Follow us on Instagram. There should be a link in the description for that. Maybe some other stuff. Check out our other podcasts so far. Thank you for watching. Again, I'm Judah.
And I'm Zion. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.